Thank you very much for staying with us. You're still on the Sports Review on the Joynews channel on Multi-TV. It's now time to get into our discussion, and we're inviting you on our social media accounts. Your question is very simple. I mean, do you think Nana Yaw Amponsah will be successful as a CEO of Kumasi Asante Kotoko? It's just time to introduce my guests right now. Hello to you, Coach Christopher Nemley. How are you doing? It's
always a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Really good to have you on Saturday mornings. I mean, I met one of our fans who said, like, look, okay, so once he sees us on television, then he's sure that, okay, Saturday and the week has come to an end. Officially, we indicate that the week has come to an end, and we'll start again with Sunday. Also joining us from Kumasi, our sister station, Usubempa Ayala, who is joining us this morning. Ayala, how are you doing this morning? Are you good? Ayala, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, George. You?
Yes, I'm fine. Everything has gone through because you were very, very close, right in the engine room with this Nana Yaw business. So it's really good to have you on the show for more perspective. Let's say hello to Collins Atapoku joining us this morning as well. Ata, how you doing?
I'm very well, George, and you?
I'm fine. And you see, this Atapoku and coming on the show with Jesse's, I'm coming to Christopher Nemley's Jesse right now.
You have to make sure you get some of these nice jerseys, because every now and then you keep releasing one after the other
and he will choose the day and release it. So you are wearing Napoli. Is it that you want Napoli to win tonight?
Yes. I mean, for obvious reasons.
Because Ronaldo is out. I knew it. Once Ronaldo is out, I knew the Messi fans will come.
Messi will have to go out.
Okay, guys, welcome to the show as always, and a fantastic squad that we have got here. So I think it's just right. Let's start with Ayala. Ayala, can you just take us through the timeline? I mean, Nana Yaw Amponsah's name came up. Then it happened that we were told he's not going to get the job. So much happening. And finally, he's been given the job. So tell me, what informed the board? Why did they finally then decide on Nana Yaw Amponsah? Ayala.
George, it's a very interesting story. A story that is mixed with corporate governance, politics, lobbying, tradition, history, and everything in the mix. Look, this Nana Yaw Amponsah story started way after the FA elections. When Dr. Kwame Che was the executive board chairman. In fact, Mr. George Afiye, who was also one of the aspirants for the FA presidency, was Dr. Kwame Che's first choice to become the CEO. Now, after Dr. Che got to know that George Afiye isn't so much interested in becoming the CEO for Kumasi Asante Kotoko, his attention was turned to Nana Yaw Amponsah. They've had initial meetings. Then, as the executive board chairman, he was introduced to the chief of staff way back during those times. Then things changed. A board was formed. Dr. Che was retained, this time as a board chairman. Now, after their inaugural meeting, and when the agenda to search for who becomes the head of management, the first name that came on board, because Nana Yaw Amponsah had already met Dr. Che and the chief of staff, was his name. And the other board members were taking through what has initially happened. Now, that is why it got interested. The other board members really didn't fancy coming into a transitional period where the name on the table had already met some few people behind closed doors. So people like Jude Arthur and the rest were not so enthused about that kind of information. So they wanted to see. And that is what informed the chief of staff to hold that meeting in Accra and meet Nana Yaw Amponsah personally in the boardroom to see whether what they found amused and enthused about the young man in terms of his policies, his ideas, and what he wants to bring on board will also go through the same process when the other board members meet him. To be honest with you, when they met him in Accra for the first presentation, a lot of them had a very, very good impression about him and what he brought on board. Then what made the issue more intriguing was that the day after that meeting in Accra, the leak of Nana Yaw Amponsah's presentation slides, when that came out, then the politics within Mensia, especially the seat of the chief of staff, and let me say this on record, the Mensia boys were not so enthused about Nana Yaw Amponsah and having to get to know he has a stint with Accra House of Folk and all that. Especially when they got to know that during the FA electioneering, Kobe Jones, who is House of Folk NCC PRO, was his main right-hand man.
Yeah.
They got convinced and they thought that was the nail in the coffin to say Nana Yaw Amponsah is more aligned to Accra House of Folk than Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Then came that utterance from Kwame Abuaji, the aide to the chief of staff, on Opimso FM, the mouthpiece of Mensia, talking about Nana Yaw Amponsah not being able to keep secret. He's a loud mouth, and Mensia can't work with someone who can keep secret and keep consultative meetings and all that. Now, during that period, Nana Yaw Amponsah's candidature to become the CEO got really hit by those pronouncements by Kwame Abuaji, the aide to the chief of staff. Now, because some of the information I have are privileged information and I can't put it out there.
Yes, all right.
What I can say is that Nana Yaw Amponsah also was very, very smart in the way he lobbied around that storm and still got his name back onto the table at the board. Now, if you ask me, the person who is much enthused about Nana Yaw Amponsah and his persona and consider him as right for the job, apart from Dr. Kwame Choi, is Mr. Kwabena Boateng Gyamfi, who is the head of Exim Bank. So, and Kwabena Boateng Gyamfi today has a lot of influence, especially when it comes to his relationship with the life patron Otumfuo Osei-Tutu himself. So what happened was that, look, okay, the chief of staff, we know their stance against this guy, especially coming from Kwame Abuaji. Now, let's open up the process. Let's see whether we could get other baits that could give us a competition to what Nana Yaw Amponsah has offered so far. They met other people, a corporate guy from MTN, even our own Leo Amande name came up at a point in time. They had their consultative meetings. They had few names flying around the board table, and they considered all that. But one thing that was for sure was that the impression that Nana Yaw Amponsah had created on this board was going to last through the process. And last week, Friday, the board, led by Dr. Kwame Choi, the chairman, took Nana Yaw Amponsah to Mensia to introduce him that, look, after all our deliberations, after all the processes we've been through, we think he is the right man for the job. When they introduced him to the chief of staff, what the chief of staff told them was that, okay, if he is the guy you've settled on, let me get to Otumfuo and we'll get back to you. Then we see how this all will pan out. Now, on Monday, when Mr. Kojo Boateng Gyamfi got on the phone with the life patron Otumfuo Osei-Tutu, and he was given the green light from Otumfuo himself that, look, you can go ahead and appoint the guy, the chief of staff has spoken to me. I think you guys are bent on selecting him as a CEO, and I give you guys my blessing. That moment when Mr. Boateng Gyamfi put that decision on the platform of the board that, look, we've gotten the green light, everything is set. The following day, which was Tuesday, they held a board meeting, and after all their deliberations, Dr. Kwame Choi, Alhaji Abu Lamin, Miss Evelyn Insiasare, and Nana Yaw, who is a member of the board, came to Mensia to inform them that yesterday, which was Friday, they've planned to unveil Nana Yaw Amponsah in a grand style as the CEO of the club. And yesterday, lo and behold, the occasion was memorable, was nice, though it had some few organization hitches, but that was the big day for Nana Yaw Amponsah to be proclaimed as the chief executive officer of Master Asante Kotoko. So a lot has gone on.
Beautiful.
A lot has gone on.
Beautiful background. That's right. But that's beautiful background there from Ayala, and I knew we were going to get that. So that sets us then to begin the discussion now. So we are moving from how he got the job to what he has said he would do. As we speak, we will put on the screen the pointers. But Atta, let me come to you on this one. Tell me, what were your impressions after listening to him yesterday? Oh, okay. Okay. Papa Poku, can you hear me? I'm asking you, what were your initial impressions after you heard Nana Yaw yesterday?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
You know, let me quickly touch on the processes leading to the appointment and then talk about what he said quickly.
Okay.
You know, George, you know something.
Yes.
Ayala will call it privilege information, right?
Yes.
George, this is the big political turnaround operation I've seen in Kumasi in the last 6 months. The people that were behind this exercise and the effort that was put in, if we are to tell the world what got Nana Yaw Amponsah back into the job, man, you'll be amazed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can mention so many names. This is we are media.
Yes.
Yesterday, the former regional minister under the Kufuor regime, SK Boafo, was there. All the Kotoko NPP goons in the current government had been lobbied to make sure that they provide support. So the KK Sapon bloc were also well represented. Look, I'm impressed with how everybody seems to think he is the right man for the job. And I'm impressed with the collective gamble of putting Kotoko in the hands of the least experienced, the one with the least CV, and then the youngest in the 21st century. He would need the backing of everybody to succeed. Now, his initial words were just like what David Duncan did when he was appointed by Asante. He had to hit the right chords, and he hit them. And I asked him. The second thing that really struck me was that he understands that he was nearly eliminated by the politics of the club. And so he has to get the politics right by saying certain things. Well, eventually, I would also say privilege information. I was in the office with my boss the other time, and he was like, "You would ensure say Kotoko maybe." So it appears virtually everybody now thinks they must support the great king to get it right with Kotoko. And it appears we are all heading towards that direction. The sort of hands, look, let's say it. Look, Lord Comey has played an integral role in this operation. He literally mobilized every aspect of people in government who have some bit of influence or hearing with the great king. Lobbying MPs, lobbying ministers, lobbying board chairmen, even regional executives here in Kumasi. So I would say that Nana Yaw Amponsah, for the first time since Herbert Mensah, seems to be in a privileged position, especially with the influence of Mr. Jemfi of Exim Bank. So he has everything now. Now, Nana Yaw Amponsah would have to deal with the Kotoko politics himself, and that is what I would want to see.
Okay, that's an important one. We'll come to that. How the media are going to accept him, how they're going to treat him is also another one where all those quarters, all the action areas when it comes to Kumasi, Asante, Kotoko. Coach Nemli, you also heard him. You've heard the background to all of this. So then, how do you look at his composure, everything yesterday?
He's looked very composed, to be honest with you. I think if you look at him as everybody is watching him now on set, it is clear that this is a young man who clearly knows what he's about. He knows what he wants to do. And most importantly, he needs to be very, very, very careful with the politics. Because look, we know the way Kotoko run. For the fact that he's gotten the backing of everybody, I just want to plead to everybody that allow him to do his work. Because if you look at the sort of history that Ayala gave you and I, or everybody watching the show,
and what Papa added as well,
it is clear that at the beginning or at some point during the process, some people said no, he will not get the job.
Yeah.
Now, but for the lobbying, but for the sort of most influential people that got involved, he wouldn't have gotten the job. You and myself know. And the fact that there's something called the Hearts of Oak tag on him. Look, take it or leave it. For those people who support Hearts of Oak, they don't like anything Kotoko. For those people who support Kumasi Asante Kotoko,
they don't like anything.
They don't like anything has. It is healthy, of course, in the right sense, not to do anything fishy or bad. But to make sure that we have proper rivalry in our game that will propel our game to the next level. For the fact that he's on record, maybe not on radio, but I have heard him say that he's a Hearts of Oak person. Deep down within him, his blood, he's a Hearts of Oak person. But that also does not mean that he cannot go to Kotoko and do a professional job. His integrity, what he stands for, is on the line. Look, this is more or less the catalyst for bigger things to come. And if you look at the way he presented himself yesterday, the sort of things he said, Kotoko is bigger than NDC, NPP. If you ask me, I perfectly do agree with that. That Kotoko is a far bigger entity than any of the political parties who's ruled this country. I agree with him.
Okay.
Now, if you can see Kotoko that big, he said Kotoko is the biggest team in Ghana, among the best three in terms of pedigree, stature, what they stand for, value on the continent of Africa. That tells you this is a young man who speaks big things. And for me, I'm so happy for him because he sounds very modern, very inclined with the modern trend of the game of football. But at the end of the day, everything that is being said by him, all the support comes down to the playing body.
That's right.
If Kotoko do all the good things administratively, the organogram is well organized, everything is put in place.
They are not winning games.
And they are not winning games, and they are not winning trophies. I'll come and sit here and I'll say Nana Yaw Amponsah is a failure. This is something he understands perfectly as a football manager person.
But something the fans have to understand that it will take time.
And
so
then
they don't come and
he
say,
needs to.
Because he has lost 3 games,
from the way he's spoken big, from the way, if you look at what has been presented from Menchia to him, that this is the direction we want this thing to go, he now needs to manage the expectation of the supporters. If I'm going to give him my candid advice, is to go back to Herbert Mensah. Because you know when Herbert came, he properly managed the expectation of the supporters. So he had every support to carry them along. You can get all the support from Menchia, all the support from the Jubilee House, all the support from the big people, NDC, MPP. But when the supporters strike,
nobody can stand.
They will get you out of the job. Because they have the power to make or unmake you. So for me, I really want to see him succeed. He's very inexperienced, and for a young man who has accepted this challenge to do bigger things, with by far a team I believe is the biggest in Ghana, support-wise, is the biggest in Ghana. Nobody disputes that. For a young man to take up this challenge, I just hope that everybody who supported him, will everybody allow him to go.
Now, guys, let's go through his a lot of the things that he said. Let's have on the screen some of the targets that he set for himself to say. I mean, I looked through it. Like well-structured technical management team. Yeah, of course, take that. I mean, 2 more.
That is a non-negotiable.
Of course, 2 more training pitches. Take that, take it. And back on the European tour, take that. They've been doing it. In their own academy. Yes, that is great. Club museum is also very, very good. Fans to pay 200 Ghana cedis for 2 years. They have their names in a fabulous wall of fame that will be there in the club museum. It's all good. Target of 20 million revenue that. But let me come to you, Ayala. How overambitious was the fact that he will make Kotoko play in the FIFA Club World Cup? That means Kotoko winning the CAF Champions League. Isn't that a dangerous squad to have started with regards to how the fans, look forward to Kotoko doing well? And if you start putting this in their head already, and you look at the Kotoko team and the CAF Champions League, the golfing class is vast, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You see, George, what we are putting out as media men to the Kotoko supporters are not what Nana Yaw Amponsah himself has endorsed is coming from him. we are saying that these are the documents that has leaked to us from the presentation. He has never confirmed whether it is true or it's not. So I want us to be modest in trying to push this so hard on him, like something we have holistically from him saying, this is what I'm going to do. That is the reason why that if I look at the board's appointment, the Professor Lydia Nkansa Committee's recommendations and documents, and what is the vision of Kumasi Asante Kotoko now with the board and they going in for Nana Yaw Amponsah. To be honest to the discussion, I am not going to put any pressure on him in terms of some slides I have seen, but what I expect him to do alongside the board in his first 6 months is to give us the policy direction document. If not holistically, at least highlights of it. Now, if you ask me after 6 months, whether I think that Nana Yaw Amponsah as the head of management is going to zoom Kotoko into a more proper corporate setting, this is what I expect to see after 6 months. Now, as a CEO, he needs to appoint certified people into the office of his organogram. And when he does that, he needs to task them to bring policy in their individual departments so that he's look at it and submit it to the board for the direction to put together a policy direction for the club. Now, the first thing I want Nana Yaw Amponsah to do is to have a well-documented standard operation procedure as any company in the world will have. That, look, if you come to my institution, this is the standard operation procedure that we work with. Apart from that, if he appoints HR, so that we will not come back to talk about this Kotoko accident issues in future, there must be a perfect HR policy being crafted by a HR manager. That is very, very crucial in today's corporate governance. Because of where Nana Yaw Amponsah is coming from and the history of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, that, oh, this management member has brought his player, he is getting a cut of so and so. Nana Yaw Amponsah himself, as a Fire Rangers person, we don't want to see Nana Yaw Amponsah signing a lot of Fire Rangers players and getting their cut onward transfer 50%. Yesterday, people like Alhaji Gedo of Amidas was there. We don't want to see Nana Yaw Amponsah's tenor buying players from Amidas, a lot of them giving them good, juicy contracts. I would want to see the conflict of interest policy from Nana Yaw Amponsah so that everything will be streamlined. Apart from the conflict of interest policy, what is the disclosure policy? What is his stakeholder engagement plan? What is his compliance policy? What is his communication policy, transparent and accountability policy? What is his transfer policy? Look, what I'm driving at is that for us to go along with him and understand that Nana Yaw Amponsah is coming to alleviate Kotoko from what we've seen in the past, we would need him as soon as possible, at least in the first 6 months, to form his organogram, get people in those organograms that are certified and qualified, let him with them draw policies for each department and the general well-being of corporate governance institution, present it to the board, let the board fine-tune it to the vision that they come on board with, and let's have a Kotoko policy document that zooms them into proper corporate governance system. Then we can say that he has set the ball rolling and we are going to see bigger things to come from him.
Good point.
As for infrastructure, as for player sales, funds, all that will come if the structure is right. And today, if you come to Kumasi especially, what people are expecting Nana Yaw Amponsah to do is to build a visible corporate structure for Kumasi Asante Kotoko that will kickstart everything good that will come from his
excellent. And I think it's something that Accra Hasbrook will need to learn from. I mean, for the two clubs.
Don't go there.
I mean, the two clubs. No, I'm saying this. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying that the two clubs need to go or toe the lines of corporate governance. I need that.
Corporate governance.
I need that from the two clubs. Now,
yeah, of course.
Papa, this is the controversial question for you here. Now, how does Nana Yaw Amponsah get the supporters on board and get the media to go with him? I remember sometime I met Dr. Kwame personally. We had a great chat, and you could feel the stress of the media on him. He says, you know, that was so profound when he told me that. I felt it. Doctor, I mean, the media in Kumasi, the media could be such a difficult one to deal with. How does he get the two? Because the supporters and the media alone can crush you with your policy document.
You see, Nana Yaw Amponsah has got friends here in Kumasi. He used them during the elections.
Yeah.
Nana Yaw Amponsah had a stint with Corners babies. Cornerstones.
Yes, Cornerstones. Yeah.
It didn't end well. So the history here isn't good enough.
For starters.
Secondly, he lost an election. Many people feel that Nana Yaw Amponsah was positioning himself for one of the big jobs in the country. Today, Nana Yaw Amponsah is going to Queen's Park Rangers for something. The next day, Ato folk are trying to appoint him, then Kotoko. So people felt he was jostling. And that's why all these things came up. I've heard some of the fans seriously speaking that, look, everybody would need to back him if they want to be successful. The same yesterday and the day before, a former Circles chairman and a board member, Bernard Zio, had openly come out to say this gentleman people are working themselves up about hasn't got the clout or anything to lead the club. Now, how does the media come in here? Do I call Nana Yaw Amponsah or do I call Bernard Zio and tell them please cease fire? Yesterday was a demonstration of unity. You saw former management members come in there. Now, George, let's use this unique opportunity to tell something to the world. Ayala wouldn't say it, so how? This is a big Kotoko. It's not the making of the media. George, you are there and an embedded member in the board or in the management he will form will call you. And I will say, no, you're the way you could discard or the way you say, Monka already, you know, so mommy. What kind of documents be out pay the American? So if you don't get a media person who is savvy or conservative, that person is looking to apologize and retract. He would retract, but he would have won the confidence of this embittered person and he would continue doing his bidding. You are there and then one of the players who is not doing well enough and has been benched will call you and tell you, oh, Maxwell found one player beat the number. So the issue about Kotoko and the Kumasi media, it is always started by the Kotoko faction.
Yeah.
And what really scares me is that there is this assumption in Kumasi that whenever a new management is made up, it starts so well. Or they will say Kumasi, oh, they will 2 years, so they will say we are good. So even before Nana Yaw Amponsah starts his work, there are people who feel that it is going to be the same. Yeah. And that for me is something that we must all look at. Now, who and who are closer to the great king? That one we would have to be a little savvy. But there are those who have access to the king who could easily also tell him things. George, have you asked yourself how the great king got to know that people are paying, the Opokunti regime was paying different bonuses to certain players?
Wow.
Secondly, I was there when Otuvo was telling he must report the captain then. But Bass requires seat number we see another thing. Who quite sure the maybe engine one, so I say the Ashanti Kingdom exceeds Kumasi. So how did Otuvo get this specific detail? He has his ear everywhere. So we will beg Kotoko that for the good of the club and for the good of the supporters, everybody involved should keep quiet and give Nana Yaw Amponsah 6 months to put structures in place. Nana Yaw Amponsah should be very careful because the vast majority of the fans are not people who are so used to corporate structure. Let's be blunt. They are in the central market the Central Business District called the Doom, and then Swami Magazine. These are mostly one-man businesses.
Yes.
These guys can easily turn on Nana Yaw Amponsah, catch seminal, and policy in the paper, top players, my and African and the No, when they say this to you and you are not firm, they will take it to radio. And sorry, maybe you're like Accra. It is not all the media that are well paid you must. So if I get who pull on my car every week, and then he says the credit now from Nana Yaw Amponsah radio no so. Look, they will say it. So I just wish that Mr. Boateng will take control of Nana Yaw Amponsah's settling in. Dr. Kwame Chey cannot, because he has his own media.
Yeah.
And when they decide to be acidic on you, you are finished in Kumasi.
Right.
So if the gold crisis, so he ought to be straight with everybody, like Ayala said.
That's right.
He's going to do well, but he shouldn't promise them. He should just take it coolly.
Okay, great point. Let me just activate the phone lines now as we go around. I'm coming to you, Coach Nemli, though. 0302 211 or 692, 211 691 or 692. You can call and tell us what you expect from Nana Yaw Amponsah, which is important. It's not easy. Coach Nemli, when he was talking about the media, you know, in Kumasi, and when I went to Kumasi, I had a fantastic experience. You know what? Look. I'm like, morning, they're talking sports, afternoon, they're talking sports, evening, they're talking. So if they decide to make you the talking point,
you finish.
You'll be under massive pressure for 1 week.
You finish.
Everybody will talk to you. And every radio station has its, you know, its powers.
It can get so unpleasant when you have the media in Kumasi coming against you or coming for you.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that Nana Yaw Amponsah, without a doubt, will have to be very, very careful.
It's difficult. You can't make everybody happy, you know.
He needs to manage expectations. For me, that is the beginning of big things to come, or the beginning of things not going on proper or well with him.
Okay.
If he does not manage expectations, that is why I agree with Ayala again when he said, "Look, everybody, back off for the next 6 months.
Let him."
Get him to settle, get him to make his appointments, and get him to tax them. One thing he has to be very careful about, he needs to make sure that he doesn't present himself as Mr. Know-all. The moment you present yourself as Mr. Know-all,
you have a problem.
That will be the beginning of the end.
Hold on with the Mr. Know-all bit. We've got Trinity on the line. Trinity, good morning. Is this God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit?
Just good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Trinity. Tell me, what are expectations?
Coach Nemli.
Good morning, sir.
Right.
Good morning.
Yes, very quick one.
Yes.
My expectations and things I expect of the new CEO. One, in terms of player purchasing, I want to see what I call strategic buying. You don't do wholesale buying of 12, 13 players in a season. Then at the start of the next, you allow 10 to go for free. So this is what they should do. The technical team should be able to provide a detailed analysis of the team to be able to identify areas where there are weaknesses. Then you buy to fix specific problems in the team. So if for a season you didn't score more goals, then you analyze yourself and ask yourself, is it because you didn't have enough big players or creative players in the team, or our attackers weren't good in the season? So you buy specifically to fix specific problems in the team. Then two, in terms of player sales, I haven't seen Kotoko sell players to recoup money in the last couple of years. I mean, players like Shafiu or the guy who went to Sweden, and even Captain Amos, I don't know how much they sold these players for. So the new era that is coming in should address some of these concerns. And like Ayala was saying, and I agree perfectly with Ayala, the issue of conflict of interest in Ghana is one that hasn't been taken seriously. And looking at where the gentleman is coming from, I think his biggest challenge will be how he will deal with that conflict of interest. Because you see, if a player is good enough as far ranges, you can't say Kotoko shouldn't buy him. But then when they are doing that purchasing, it should be as transparent as possible so that the young man will not find himself in any form of conflict of interest situation. Thank you very much, George.
We're picking more calls. I can do that at least for the next 5 minutes a day. Okay, so let's go. 0302-211-691 or 692. Let's hear from you. Expectations of Nana Yaw Amponsah. You were making a point for that.
So like I was saying, he should not present himself as Mr. Know-all.
I know all, yes.
He should allow people to work for him. Because once the appointments are done right, means you will go for specialists in certain areas.
Yeah.
For example, when it comes to building a solid academy for the team, you need to get a proper coaching team in place, proper scouting team in place, and allow the coaches to build the template for you as to the sort of play. The recent caller make mention of the fact that Kotoko hardly sells players.
Yeah.
I can say emphatically that most of their players are old.
Okay. Oh, that's why they can't sell them. Mark
That's why they can't sell them.
Mark is on the line. Mark, good morning. How are you doing this? How are you doing?
I'm fine, and you, George?
Yes, I'm good. Speak up a bit for me, Mark. Is it that the watcher hasn't gone in yet, or you took some tea in the morning?
Yeah, I want to congratulate Nana Yaw.
Okay.
I respected him a lot when all the noises happened. He chose to remain calm, and I want to wish him all the best.
Okay.
And I want we the supporters, and everybody has to support him. And I think that there's conflict of interest has to stop, and we want to support him.
Okay.
I wish him all the best.
Right. Thank you very much, Mark. Let's see if we have another call on the line. 0302-211-691, 692. Question is, Nana Yaw going to be exercised at Kumasi Asante Kotoko? And Coach made the point that he should allow people to work for him.
Yeah, he should allow people
Let me bring in Ayala on this point, because Ayala, the issue about trusts is one that's it's probably the main issue. You know, when you talk about the Kumasi Asante Kotoko board management, who to trust though? Who to trust? Because the guy you trust can end up betraying you, and you can have issues. I've met management members who have said, "Oh, this guy did this guy." How would you advise him when it comes to who to trust, who to say, "Do this for me"?
George, then let's trust the system rather than trusting individuals.
That's it.
Which system?
If the system is there, then we go. For instance, if we get to know that Kotoko transfer policy is that they are not going to sign a player above the age of 23, and they will make sure that they get all these players national team status. What it then means is that if Kotoko is going to break the bank to buy any player, you assess him alongside the policy.
Okay, please hold on. Please hold on. Yeah, hold on. We got a call on the line. DJ Smart's on the line. DJ, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Mr. George.
Good. Let's hear from you on your expectations.
I'm speaking from Boku.
Okay, good. Boku, nice.
Yeah, so let me quickly congratulate Nana Yaw Amponsah for being one of the youngest CEO of Asante Kotoko.
Okay.
But my quick advice is, I think most of the time the fans will cause the trouble for most of the management and team for a club. So the fans need to take time, because this era, we already break down from the COVID-19. And coming back from the COVID-19 to work in the managerial position, there's a lot we need to do. So I think Kotoko as a club, as one of the biggest and successful clubs in Ghana and in Africa, they need to have time for Nana Yaw Amponsah to work and then pour his brain for the people. Because the moment you give him pressure, some frustration will come, and then he can actually equally work at the wrong position. So I only want to urge Kotoko fans to give him a time so that he can work and deliver for the club.
DJ, thank you. DJ, thank you very much for your call. I can do the final caller, 0302-211-691 or 692, because I'll go around the table on this trust matter. Ayala has started with, we should forget about the individuals and trust in the system. I could hear Papa in the background saying that, where is the system? Intim is the final caller, so I'll go around the table on that. Intim, you're my final caller this morning. How are you doing? Good morning.
Fine, what about you?
I'm great. Let's hear from you, Intim.
Okay, so I'll jump to use better network the next time. Hello, can you hear me?
No.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, say hi to Jam for me.
Oh. But better network is not our problem. We have subscribed to all the people. The telcos are doing their job.
Okay.
Okay.
I would advise Nana Amponsah to be careful of the Kumasi media, because they would tear him apart. So you should just be careful.
Okay. You should be careful.
Okay.
Thank you very much, team calling us. Okay, so Ayala, let's share the last 6 minutes of the show very, very well. Let me allow you to continue. You were talking about don't trust the people, trust the system, right?
Yeah, what I was saying basically is that in my corporate governance orientation, the decisions that the CEO puts together spans from one principle.
Ayala, but this one is Ayala, this corporate governance is good. Oh. If I had you as a CEO, no problem. And we have the people with you, no problem. But this one is Kotoko. This corporate governance over the Kotoko one, it's not easy.
Let me land. If I land, then you get to understand me.
Okay, all right.
Now, in this normal principle, these are basic.
Okay.
Every decision you take must add value to the club.
Yeah.
Every decision. If you are bringing player, if you are bringing this, every decision you take must add value to the club. And by adding value to the club, what you are trying to say is that this decision I've taken is trying to maximize profits and minimizing cost. So yes, people will disagree. Why this player? Why that? Why this decision? Why that decision? But once the CEO, with his compliance office and all that, are able to justify and say, look, the reason why we took the decision, though maybe unpopular, is that this is the value that we think this decision will add to the club. And this is how we are reducing costs with this decision. At the end of the day, you face the board and you tell them every decision I've taken in the evaluation room has added value to the club.
Ayala, hold on.
That is it. Ayala, agreement we will.
Good. Ayala, hold on. Let me come to you, Papa. Papa, is there a system at all? Or you have to develop the system?
No, there is no system. Nana Yaw Amponsah should get ready. Otumfo would directly call the accountant and ask him about things happening in Kotoko without him knowing.
Wow. Of course.
The accountant he is going to work with is a choice from the palace. He has been a long-serving accountant. So the idea that we have a system and things are going to be rosy, I would want to tell him straight that it hasn't happened that way in Kotoko. There is due diligence, there is corporate governance, but there is tradition.
Yes,
Kotoko is a political party first and foremost. The accountant has outlasted KK Sapon, Opokunti. Mention them.
That's an interesting start. He knows everything.
Wow.
Okay, so you should be ready for that. But there's no system.
There's no system.
Should trust his conscience.
Okay, trust his conscience. Coach Nemli.
Exactly.
To Nana Yaw Amponsah, on trust.
At the end of the day, he needs to trust his conscience, like my good friend just said, because there are certain things will happen. When up himself feels that he needs to know certain things, he will not call Nana Yaw Amponsah. He will not even call anybody on the board. He will call people down there, those who are really, really on the ground. And usually, if the man could tell you that in your bus, this seat is torn, then it means that he knows where to go to get the informations that are based, that are on the ground, for him to take his decisions. But like I said, look, please everybody, let the young man do his work. He will need your support, yes, but allow him to do the big appointment. For me, my major concern is with the playing body. I'm available if he wants me. I'm doing my own marketing if I'm available, because he will need people like myself to go and build a solid academy for Kumasi Asante Kotoko, where the boys will not only be given the tax to go and play football, but they'll be given proper formal education with people like me involved. So let's hope he settles down, get his thing in place, and then put the right people in the job. For me, Max Okunudu, in my view, is the best technical brain to have as the head coach of Kotoko as we speak today. So work with Maxwell when it comes to constituting the technical team for the academy, for the boss, and he will advise you onto the right people to put in charge of this team.
Okay, so I've got 3 minutes to end the show. I'll take you guys to the Champions League because we have commentary on Joy 99.7 FM. I know Love FM has got commentary. I know Israel FM has got commentary. Multimedia has got commentary all across. Ayala, you have to choose between Barcelona and Napoli. Who are you going for?
I'm a Barcelona fan.
All right, thank you very much. Hoping that Barcelona will go through. Papa, with your Napoli jersey, you are singing Napoli's anthem, right?
Yes, I'm with them today. I'm supporting them.
Napoli, see this against.
No, it's not against. George, honestly, I went to Naples And then when I understood their political culture and history,
okay, you began to love them. Okay, you fell in love. Yeah. So you are with Gattuso. Coach Debele.
A friend of mine reminded me 2 days ago that, Coach, have you forgotten you are a Bayern Munich supporter? I said, since when?
Wow, because Chelsea is playing Bayern. I remember you're a Bayern Munich supporter.
Bayern Munich and Barcelona to go through.
Anyway, we have not said that. I didn't talk about the Chelsea Bayern game.
Yeah.
I've left that
but
to
I
God.
know you're running away from that.
I've just left that to God.
I've reminded you on that.
Bayern Munich and
Barcelona to go
There are some things God will just deal with it. Me, I don't talk.
But do you know what Lamley is?
It's okay. It's okay.
You know Lamley. Today, if Chelsea you don't take it, you'll be giving Lamley. Do you know Lamley?
Ayala, thank you very much for joining me on the show. It's been great. I wish you the best of luck in your with your team's game against Napoli. We'll have live commentary on that. Papa, thank you very much. We'll see how Napoli goes with that. And there's definitely more chat to come. Coach Nemli, thank you very much. You are talking about Chelsea, but you're not even in the competition. It's okay.
No, but
next season we'll see you.
Last season's competition.
Next season we'll see you. Coach, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who's made this work. Queenster Japong, to Haruna Mubarak, to Yao, to all the big men who have made this happen. My name is Jordan Jr. We're back next week with another great edition.